If you become president, Mr. Schultz, will you sell all of your shares in Starbucks?
Well, I think we're getting way premature.
CNN hosted a town hall with billionaire Starbucks guy, Howard Schultz. Now, Howard Schultz is just the second potential 2020 candidate to get a town hall. Now, I say potential because he hasn't even officially announced that he's running yet in 2020. And if he does run, it'll be an independent run. But I will get more into that after I show a few clips. I do want to say, though, the other town hall that CNN gave to somebody was Kamala Harris. Now, it's kind of interesting, as I did a story on this. Kamala Harris is, her biggest donor is Warner Media, or I should say employees of Warner Media. Warner Media, which of course owns CNN. Nobody else has gotten a town hall except for Kamala Harris and Howard Schultz. Not Tulsi Gabbard, not Elizabeth Warren. Nobody else that is announced for 2020, that have officially announced for 2020, have been given a town hall. But let's just go to these clips, because ultimately, I don't think this helped Howard Schultz. I don't think it helped him at all. In fact, I think he completely embarrassed himself the entire time. So I think I have 4 or 5 clips here to show you, and it's just, it's incredible. Let's just start with the first one, which is about how Howard Schultz is going to be on the ballot in every state.
But can you imagine a situation, if I run for president, we will be on the ballot of every state, and then the majority of every state, almost 50 states, a couple of them will not be in play, but let's say 45. For the first time in over 30 years, everyone's vote will matter. So if you're a Democrat in a red state, your vote doesn't matter because it's predetermined, and vice versa. But in a three-person race in almost 50 states, for the first time in over 30 years, American people have a voice, and their vote really counts.
For the first time in over 30 years, the American people will have a voice. Everyone's vote will matter for the first time in 30 years, because Howard Schultz is going to be an independent, is going to be somebody else on the ticket in every state. That has never happened before, ever, in the past 30 years, except for the last election in 2016, when Gary Johnson got on the ballot in all 50 states. And also, Jill Stein got on the ballot in 45 states, which appears to be what Howard Schultz is aiming for in terms of his language on that answer. So this has already happened in the last election. Already, we are starting from a point of Howard Schultz doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about when it comes to simply the race that he may be joining. So you're going to notice this a lot throughout all of these answers, that Howard Schultz doesn't know what the hell he is talking about. Let's just move on to the next one, which is on taxes.
There was a tremendous opportunity for the United States to have comprehensive tax reform. And that would have meant higher rates on individuals like myself. Corporate tax rate of 21% should have never happened. And we should have examined how can we create comprehensive tax reform so that we could lower the taxes for the middle class. But the headline is here, I should be paying more taxes, and people who make this kind of revenue and of means should pay more taxes.
You're a billionaire.
Yeah.
Give me a sense. Are you talking about you should pay 2% higher, 10% higher, 20% higher federal income tax?
Poppy, I don't know what the number is. I think what I'm saying is we need comprehensive tax reform.
Ballpark it for people, because it makes a difference. Would it go up to, the rate under President Clinton, or are we talking about significantly higher?
What I think is what being proposed at 70% is a punitive number. And I think there are better ways to do this.
So what's not punitive?
I don't know what the number is, but what I'm suggesting is I should be paying higher taxes.
I should pay more in taxes. I'm a billionaire, I should pay more in taxes. Okay, how much? I don't know. But you say you should pay more. How much should you pay? Do you have an idea? I don't know. I do know that I hate AOC's plan. 70% is way too much, but I should pay more taxes. Okay, how much? I don't know. This guy is running for president, and he has no answer on this very basic question of a topic that has been focused on for the past a few months. So this idea that, out of anybody in this race, Howard Schultz deserves a town hall the least. He doesn't have any ideas. He doesn't have any plan, and we're only getting started. It's going to get better, or I should say worse. He is just so completely ridiculous. Again, for you to run for president or think about running for president and to have a fucking town hall on CNN and you have no idea what you actually want to offer people, all you have to offer them is things that you hate, that is not a platform. Now let's get to healthcare because, oh, Jesus, if you thought it was good, if you thought it was good there, it's whatever. It's crazy. Let's get started.
The Republicans, for 10 years, 8 years during the Obama presidency and the last 2 years, have done everything possible to eradicate the Affordable Care Act. And they've done that without offering any plan. This is the far right. The far left is now suggesting Medicare for all. That is a $32 trillion number. And just like the issue I brought up before about making all the buildings in America energy free in terms of clean energy, does anyone here really understand that Medicare for all also means that you will lose the choice of your doctor and your private insurance company? Not many people know that. So that would disrupt the entire system, and it'll cost $32 trillion.
All right, I almost don't know where to begin with this, which is why I made notes, because I would be all over the fucking place if I just had to unleash on that clip. So let's get started with the 32 trillion. So 32 trillion, Medicare for all will cost $32 trillion. Oh my God, $32 trillion. Doesn't mention how much the current program would cost, because it would cost more under Obamacare than under Medicare for all. In fact, when you look at an actual conservative study on this and you break down the numbers, that conservative study shows that, oh yes, Medicare for all could cost $32 trillion, but it may also save $2 trillion. And that's a conservative study. When you look at other studies, like one that came out in December, it shows that it would save $5.1 trillion over 10 years. Now, again, these are still conservative estimates. There are other studies out there that show even more savings. But even apart from the money aspect, why is healthcare like the only thing we look at when it comes to money? This idea that people shouldn't have a right to healthcare. If you can't afford healthcare, what, you should just die? I need to let me slow down for a second, because I'm gonna lose my shit if I didn't already. So what I'm trying to say here is the focus on money. So this focus on money over the focus on helping people, that is even the debate, is bothersome. And on top of that, he lies again. So he says, oh, you won't be able to choose your doctor. Complete lie. I have universal health care as a Canadian. Guess what? I chose my doctor. You can choose your doctor. Your doctor is not given to you by the government. You choose your doctor. That's how the system works. And yes, you will lose your insurance company. And you know what? Most people fucking hate their insurance company. That is not a criticism of Medicare for all. That's a feature. So the idea that Howard Schultz is going to sell people on the idea that Medicare for all is terrible by telling them that you will lose your private insurance company, he clearly doesn't understand that most people hate private insurance, because they realize once they actually have to use it, oh my God, I have to fucking deal with this private insurance company that is trying to steal money from me and is trying to get away from covering the things that, using their fancy language, that they said that they would cover. This happens to people all the time. 45,000 people a year die due to a lack of access to healthcare, and even more people go bankrupt due to healthcare costs. And a lot of those people have private insurance. So even when you have private insurance, many people, a lot of people, still go bankrupt over medical costs. That doesn't happen at all in Canada or any place that has universal healthcare, because you are covered for your basic healthcare needs. Now, let me, I cut this into two different clips, the healthcare answer, because it's, you'll see. There's a follow-up. I speed up his answer because he doesn't actually answer it, but you'll get the gist of it.
So, Mr. Schultz, to that question, and because your question, Rio, was about what's your plan, and many, I think, wonder, is it fair to criticize the left and the right? What is your plan to make sure that if it's not Medicare for all, what is your plan to make sure that every American can get quality, affordable health care?
First and foremost, three principles. One, I think everyone in America, every person deserves to have the right for affordable care. Every person. Second, there needs to be competition in the system. And what I mean by that is competition so that the American people can get access to prescription drugs at lower prices, because right now the government is not allowed under federal law to negotiate with pharma. The third thing is that it has been tested but not proven yet about interstate commerce among insurance companies. But there's no doubt that, once again, the healthcare crisis has been with us for a long time. The other issue is I stand by the fact that I supported the Affordable Care Act. It covered 20 million people who did not have good insurance, but premiums have gone up double since the Affordable Care Act. So now we've got to go back in and fix the Affordable Care Act and bring premiums down. Competition will do that. But the far right, remove the...
How? The question is how.
Yeah.
I don't mean to startle you from the back.
No.
The voice over your shoulder over here. But how specifically? Because I think so many people here hear that. But they say that is what Congress has been trying to do or talking about doing
You're wrong.
for so long.
All right. So the answer goes on even longer without an actual answer. Howard Schultz has no plan. The closest he got was that he likes the Affordable Care Act. So he will do something to make sure that costs come down. He doesn't know what, but he's going to try to do that. Again, not giving any plan, any details, any policy, nothing. Just more verbal diarrhea. Now, let's go to his answer on this one that should be easy. And even Howard Schultz himself thought it was an easy question to answer before you'll see.
Basically, it's a little history lesson on Jimmy Carter. He set a great example by disclosing and surrendering his investments and business interests that might influence his legislative priorities, like his beloved peanut farm. Trump has changed this precedent. Would you follow Carter or Trump's lead?
I think that's the easiest question of the night. That is a question I don't even have to think about. The only thing that I would follow Donald Trump to do is when he made the statement before the government shut down that the buck stops with him. You remember he said that? And then 2 or 3 weeks later, he said, this is not my responsibility. The answer to the question is President Carter had a great deal of integrity, a set of values. I would do everything I could to follow his lead with regard to transparency.
If you run for president, if you become president, Mr. Schultz, will you sell all of your shares in Starbucks?
Well, I think we're getting way premature. This is my third week.
This guy's unbelievable. Oh, this is the easiest question in the world. So, would you sell your shares? It's too premature. What the fuck? I mean, this really was the easiest question he could possibly answer. It could have been just a simple, oh yeah, of course, next question. No, he had to drone on for 2 fucking minutes about nothing and doesn't even answer the question. So how can anybody possibly look at this person and think that he deserves a town hall, let alone deserves anybody's vote in 2020? Let's go to the next clip because I am going to blow my top. Let's go to the clip on, this is a good one to end on. Starbucks, the Starbucks incident about race and how Howard Schultz thinks about race.
It was a terrible moment for the company. It's not something that we're going to forget, and it's something that we learned a great deal from, and we're still learning it about. And I would just say, as somebody who grew up in a very diverse background as a young boy in the projects, I didn't see color as a young boy, and I honestly don't see color now.
I almost don't know what to say to this, except, again, I made some notes. But this, like, I don't see color answer. It's just, this is one of these things where you can tell how out of touch Howard Schultz is. He doesn't understand what the fuck he's saying because the things that he is saying don't mean anything. Now, he had a longer answer, but there was no point in showing it all because in no point in that answer does he actually give any policy or make any real critiques about systemic racism and how to deal with systemic racism, how we should deal with the criminal justice system, what we should do at all to any of these issues. He has nothing, no ideas, no policy, absolutely nothing. Just, I don't see color. I don't give a fuck about, I don't care if you're blind and deaf and you can't smell. What policies do you have? If you have no fucking policies, then why the hell are you running for president, you fucking moron? I cannot believe this idiot is on television. The only reason he has a town hall right now is because he is a billionaire. There is no other reason. Why did he get a town hall before Tulsi Gabbard, before Elizabeth Warren, before Cory Booker, before name any other before Klobuchar? I'd rather Klobuchar have a fucking town hall than Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz doesn't have anything. Now, let's go to the projects. Oh, I grew up in the projects. Oh, tough life for me. I grew up in the projects. Let's actually look into this. Did Howard Schultz really grow up in this very, very diverse community in the projects? Well, let's find out. I'm self-made, said Schultz on MSNBC's Morning Joe last month. I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, New York. I thought that was the American dream. But when Cheryl Boyce, 64, hears him tell it, she cringes. Boyce and Schultz both grew up in the Bayview houses of Brooklyn's Canarsie neighborhood in the 1950s and 60s. At that time, the housing development was considered the country club of projects, Boyce told HuffPost. To say he came from nothing, said Boyce, now president of the Bayview Houses Community Association, it is very disingenuous. A 1958 article in Progressive Architecture, as reviewed by HuffPost, called the housing development middle income, saying it was designed to alleviate the shortage of housing for people in this wage class. The project was over 90% white. New York City Housing Authority documents from this time show, although Schultz has said he grew up in a very diverse background as a young boy in the projects where he, quote, didn't see color. In 1970, when Schultz lived there, the average family income in the area was nearly $12,000 or $70,000 in today's dollars. Today, the median household income for this area is only $23,000, according to the census. It was definitely a more working middle-class housing program, said Nicholas Bloom, a professor of social science at the New York Institute of Technology, who has written extensively about housing in New York City. He moved into a new, really nicely built development. So, not only did Howard Schultz grow up just a simple middle-class life like many Americans did, but it was an area that was not diverse. It was 90% white. So when Howard Schultz says he doesn't see color, he's not lying, because there were no fucking people of color around him. It was all white people. So this idea that Howard Schultz knows what it's like to grow up poor is just complete bullshit. Not to mention, at the time that he was growing up, the top marginal tax rate was between 70 and 90%. So, again, showing you that this idea of, oh, we have to go back to a time, back to a time when things worked, back when I was a young lad growing up in the projects. Yeah, shit worked because the wealthy were actually being taxed. Holy shit, this guy is a fucking idiot. Now, I just want to share this tweet to show you I'm not the only person that realized this guy is fucking crazy. Here's Berkeley professor Robert Reich tweeted out, why did CNN give Howard Schultz a town hall last night? Its own polls have him way down. Once again, he offered no substance. His only qualification is he has billions to pour into a campaign. Schultz is what's rotten about American politics. Shame on CNN for legitimizing him. 100%. I wanted to cover this because I thought it would be entertaining, and it is entertaining. I mean, Howard Schultz completely made a fool of himself. But still, we have to deal with the fact here that CNN, a major cable news network, the #1 major cable news network, gave Howard Schultz, a billionaire, a town hall for absolutely no reason except for the fact that he has money. As you've seen, he offers no ideas. He doesn't know shit about anything. He lies consistently, whether it's about policy like Medicare for All or whether it's about his past history in the projects. He is a moron. And again, he hasn't even announced officially a run for 2020. Yet, he's still given a town hall. I just can't deal with it anymore. So, I think you've seen enough. I've seen enough. Howard Schultz, please. I was going to say go away, but you know what? This was kind of fun. I don't know. Stick around until the voting starts so you don't fucking screw this up for everybody else. But whatever. Howard Schultz, you're a dipshit. See you later.